So did you all have any questions after yesterday's class or any concerns? Robbie, it's not up yet because it takes a minute for the video to process. So, but it will be. Any questions or concerns after yesterday? No? Okay. So remember that you can simply unmute to answer a question. You can raise your hand if you want. You can raise the virtual hand if you want. Whatever works for you. Take care of your needs. We will break at 6:30 and 7:30-ish. What I'd like to do for the group agreement today, do you have it near you? Or can you have it near you? I'm going to do what we do with the middle schoolers right now, which is I'm going to say one that I especially am feeling today. And then invite a popcorn because we're not in a circle, so we can't go in order. A popcorn, and then you have the option either to share a group agreement that you're really feeling today or to pass. And if you really feel strongly that you're feeling the same one that somebody else said, that's fine. That just means that we know we're really leaning into that today. So I will go first. I am into no judgment today. How about you, Jordan?
I am feeling like okay to pass today.
Cool. Who do you want to popcorn to?
I'll popcorn to Rabia.
Today I'm feeling oops and ouch. And then Farron, that leaves you.
I'm feeling be respectful.
Thank you. And then since there's only 4 of us, we can do another round. I'm also feeling being vulnerable and curious. I'm going to go back to Farron.
I'm feeling I'm expecting to learn not to know.
Cool. And who do you want to popcorn to?
Rabia.
And then I will do lean in and lean out, and then that leaves you, Jordan.
I'm feeling use I language.
Cool. And then that leaves us with no personal questions. That does not mean you cannot ask me about facilitation experiences because I can always say no. Confidentiality, so we can share the lessons we learn here, but not necessarily the stories, especially with names. Assuming diversity, assume that every kind of person is represented in this room, either by a person there or someone that they love and care for. And have fun. Just really always my favorite. But I try not to always choose it so other people can choose it too. So I'm going to wait for the question box until and if Shayna is able to join us, I think. So I know that one of her animals has had issues recently, so I don't know if there's a pet emergency. I hope not. So for today, we're going to do an icebreaker that's going to go in rounds. So, and we'll go in the same order each time to give everybody plenty of time between. So we're going to do 4 rounds of naming a personal care product that any gender might use. And I will start with moisturizer. And then I'm going to go to Rabia, and then Jordan, and then Farron.
Personal care perfume or cologne or anything with scent.
Okay, Jordan.
A razor.
A what?
Razor.
Razor. Sorry, it was a little breaky uppy. Okay. And Farron?
Toothpaste.
Okay, we're going to do it again. And I will say, shampoo.
Going off of that, I'll say body wash.
Okay, Jordan?
I'm really the hair today, I guess.
What did you say?
I said tweezers.
Tweezers. Thank you. I like it. Okay, Farron?
No, I'll stick with teeth since Jordan is sticking with hair. I think I'm going to say toothbrush.
Toothbrush. Okay. I'm going to stick with it. We're going to do it another time and do floss. Rabia?
Cuticle oil.
Oh, nice. Jordan?
A hairbrush or comb.
Or pick. That's what my mom uses. She says, I don't have enough hair for a brush or comb. I'm just going to make it big with a pick.
Yeah, all the hair thing.
Yeah. And how about you, Farron?
Has anyone said soap yet? I think someone said body wash.
Body wash, not soap.
Okay, soap.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to change gears a little bit. Now we're going to do sports protection that any gender might use. And I'm going to start with gloves.
Helmet.
Oh, it's me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Protection, we're saying.
Sports protection.
Like baby powder or like the anti-chafing stuff.
Anti-chafing. Yep.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I like that one. That one and helmet, because I was going to say helmet.
Oh, no.
But that's okay. Socks. We need socks.
Okay.
Athlete feet is a thing.
Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to do that one more time. I'm going to say pads.
Mm-hmm.
Rabia?
Mouth guards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, mouth guard. Cool.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There's lots of different sports.
Yeah. Oh, goggles.
Goggles.
Like eyewear.
Uh-huh.
That was
like
me.
Any kind of eyewear. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, because there's like swimming goggles and there's like, I don't know.
No.
Big place has goggles. Anyway, sorry, Farron.
I got the good ones. I respect it though. Because that's my word for the day. Be respectful. Thanks, Farron. Uniform. It could protect you from like blood and all that bodily fluid. So yeah. Okay. Here we go.
And also from the elements around you.
Yeah.
You don't gas burn.
It is true.
Okay, now we're gonna do one round of and I forgot to say, because this is a brand new exercise, I'm inviting you to listen silently and absorb the information. And inviting the speaker to only say the item but not the rationale for it. Okay. Which I should have said at first, but I was just so eager to get started. So the last round is an item of clothing any gender might wear. Skirt.
Pants.
Underwear.
Shirt.
Bra.
Tank top, undershirt.
Thought.
I'm sorry. I had such a brain fart. I am not like I'm trying to be coherent today.
What about when it's real cold, Farron? What do we wear?
Jacket.
There you go. I know you know that because you were cold this winter.
Yes.
So, what can this exercise demonstrate?
That we all have more in common than different.
Right? Definitely. And that sometimes, like, you know, the first thing that a lot of people think of when they think about protection, athletic protection, is a cup. Not everybody wears a cup. But there's a lot of stuff that everybody involved in a sport wears. And as well, it's showing that we don't have to gender clothing. But we lead into it by all of these other things, which makes it a little easier to get the habit of listening and not commenting. Okay, so did you all have time to look at the consent is like pizza that I sent you yesterday?
No, but I will look. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, so while you're looking, I'll just do a quick review of it. So probably around 20, might have even been 2019. It was a while ago. We worked with a Step Ahead Tri-Cities and the Adolescent and Young Adult Clinic at ETSU to create this program. And it's been through several iterations as we've learned more and as we have figured out better ways to express ourselves and better ways to share information. So this is an early-ish version of it that our Teens Rise crew offered to another group of teens. And the basic premise is when people are ordering pizza with friends, they don't just order what they want. They have a conversation with their friends and everybody comes to consensus about what they can compromise on to make a pizza that everybody will enjoy. And it's not necessarily your favorite pizza ever. If you want that, you can do it sometime when you're just ordering pizza by yourself. What's that a metaphor for? Well, and masturbation.
Masturbation.
Yes. So we run this class from littles, like maybe third grade through adults. We do not go there with like until about middle school. And we don't say it explicitly until high school. But we're hoping that when they hear, if you really want just what you want, you can order pizza by yourself, that eventually they will be mature enough to understand that that's a metaphor for self-satisfaction. So the first thing that they do is what they used to do, and in the one that you have is what they do, they get an order form and they pick a crust, a kind of crust. And so we have some named that they can choose from, but they can also write in their own. So I don't know if stuffed crust is on there, but that's a one that is often on there. Or I want Neapolitan pizza or whatever. So like they can do that. Then they choose a sauce. And we've got 2 or 3 listed on there. And then they choose their toppings. And they can pick as many as they want. And they can choose to have it light, choose to have it heavy. They can think about what they would never have, and it's just a no-go. Or they can think about what they might really like, but they don't want today, because that's all part of it, right? And then they get to make their own pizza. They have a couple minutes to think about it, and then we get back together. And then we talk about ordering pizza with friends and like what to do if one friend just does not like pizza. Well, then they come up with these ideas like, oh, maybe we get something that's not pizza, or we go at a restaurant that has pizza and something that they like. So they come up with all of these ideas. What if a person is really insistent that I'm only going to eat pizza my way and you have to eat it my way? And they come up with suggestions for that, like maybe asking them why they only want it their way, because maybe there's something that we don't know about that they're scared about, like an allergy or whatever. And so we make all these strategies. We have them up on spreadsheets on the wall. We talk about them. And then they get into groups of 3 to 4 people. It's actually better when it's an odd number because you can't exactly split a pizza in half that way. And they work together to do the same things. Pick a crust, pick a sauce, pick the toppings, pick the cheese. Do you want extra cheese? Are there any extra things that you're going to include? Like, and then, oh, we also talk about what if you don't know what something is that's on the list? How can you find out? And the last time that we did this class, they're like, ask AI. And I was like, well, AI, have you ever heard of hallucination? And they're like, no. And I said, hallucination is when you see something that's not there. And AI hallucinates sometimes. It really wants to tell you what you want to know, and it really doesn't want to say that it doesn't know. And so it will make things up sometimes. So probably a better place to go would be someplace that you know might know. So where would you go? And they're like, the internet. And I'm like, so like Goodyear Tires website? And they're like, no. I'm like, so where on the internet? And so then they'll say, like, maybe the Food Channel. I was like, or who could you ask at your house? Oh, my mom and dad, you know. So I could ask my friends that I'm ordering pizza with, what is pesto? And so they figure out strategies. And they go through this process, and they have to compromise on a pizza that works well for all of them. And it's fascinating because people will bend over backwards to accommodate each other, except for that one thing. That they really, really don't want to have. And then sometimes there's a vegetarian involved, or somebody who doesn't like vegetables at all involved. And so they have this process of negotiating in a very friendly way. We often recommend that people provide pizza at this class because after talking about pizza for an hour, people really, really want it. And then we debrief with questions like, do you feel like anybody in this process felt really left out? Did everybody get to have a say? Is it anybody's favorite pizza? What ways did you find to compromise? Those sorts of things. And only in the very last time that we did it, did I actually have a kid who was really upset after the class. And we talked about it and how that's part of the process, is realizing sometimes it's not going to go the way you want. She really, really wanted to try something new, but nobody else in her group wanted to. But she really, really wanted to. And I'm like, well, you didn't get to try it this time, but does that mean that you can never try it? And she was like, oh, no. But it's hard because they don't have that future seeing part of their brain all the way developed yet. So a reminder that that's the case. So we were invited to do this program. Then we talk about consent and that you learn consent when you're little about not grabbing other people's toys without asking, or not hugging somebody without asking, and like not borrowing your friend's bike without asking. And then we, the older ages, we go up into sexual behaviors, and the younger ages, we just stop because the information is there. So we were invited to go into a setting where they could only use flex pens, which is basically the inside of a pen. It is this part of a pen, except this part is really floppy and bendy. And this part is very small, so that it can't be made into a weapon, can't harm anybody. Because we were going into a juvenile detention center. And then we found out the day before the meeting, or the class, that about half of the kids could not read or write beyond about a second grade reading level. And so we couldn't use ordering sheets because they couldn't write on them, even if they were allowed to use pens. That would have left some of them out or made some of them feel uncomfortable or be unable to fully participate. So what do? How do you turn that paper exercise into something that's more accessible? And that's what I want to ask you all today.
The groups were, how big were each group?
The group was about 12 kids, 12 to 14 kids, and they were 11 to 17 years old.
And how big were they grouped into? Were they grouped into different
Yes, they were in groups of 3 and 4.
things?
Are there cards allowed? Like, could you bring in cards? What if there were like cards that had the picture, almost like a Pictionary on, like the picture on it, or
Right.
there could be stations of where like you had this big old post-it note and then there was a picture on it that represented crust, so they know what things look like. So
Right.
you can say this one is like crust and they know what it looks like, so they have that visual in this corner. Sauce, they see like the red picture over here, or like the different types of like sauces of a picture, like kind of like a Pictionary type of thing of like going station to station. And also it gets them moving and interactive.
Okay, I'm going to throw another wrench in the works. Once they sit, they're not allowed to get up.
Oh, your mom.
Yeah. The
Maybe just the cards.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, or if you can't, like, even those materials, if it's too intimidating, the only thing you can kind of use is your voice and the facilitators that you brought with you. So it would just be, hopefully everybody knows that, what sauce is, what a pizza crust is. And then that way, to make it interactive, they can respond with what kind of crust or what kind of pizza sauce that they want. So using audio instead of materialistic things and writing them down and having them read, since majority of them can't.
So those are also great ideas, and I'm putting them all down because they will be used. Thank you for your assistance. What we actually did, where did I put it? It's this. So we had created an activity for tabling at the Kingsport Farmers Market that we got a small grant for, and we had bought stickers and printed pizza toppings on them. And then we were doing it with littles. So any kids who wanted to, grown-ups were allowed to do it too, but they just wanted their kids to do it. So they would come up and they would sit at the table, stand at the table, and they would pick toppings and tell me what they liked. And this one also says stuffed crust, mozzarella, red sauce. I don't know if you can see that. Ooh, where is it? There we go. Okay. So they would sit there, and then while they were working, we'd talk to them. We'd have a conversation like, so I noticed that your sibling put pineapple on their pizza, and you absolutely did not. You put the pineapple way over there. So clearly you did not want pineapple on your pizza. What if you and your sibling and a friend are ordering pizza together and your sibling really wants pineapple? What would you do? And so we would have a conversation, right? And that's how we can get this concept out to littles. So we had the stickers and we had the picture of the crust. And so now we take the crust pictures and packets of stickers for each table. And that's how they make their personal pizza. These are personal pizzas. And then also how they make their group pizza. And what other groups of folks do you think this could benefit besides English speakers who do not read or write up to grade level or who are not allowed to use pens and pencils? Who else could that benefit?
Non-English speakers.
Non-English speakers, yep.
Maybe someone has like a disability, or maybe they're neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
maybe just a youth with like a lot of anxiety.
Right. And it also helps, again, with a person who has limited manual dexterity, they can help put on a sticker. They would have a much harder time helping to write an answer. Were you going to say something, Robbie? I might have interrupted you. Yeah, so, and it turns out that everybody loves using the stickers, including the grown-ups who took the class. So we have completely changed it, and that is the modality that we use now. That is how we do the program. The other thing that we had to do in that setting, though, with stickers was we had to count how many stickers went in and count how many stickers went out because they were worried that they would eat some as protest. So there's some grim reality out there. But they had such a good time. And then we did a workshop on understanding your own trauma response with them. And we took lion coloring sheets and brand new crayons for each of the kids. And they got to keep the crayons. The 17-year-old made a masterpiece. And they were like, can we keep it in our locker? And I was like, ask the guards. I don't know. And they're like, can we keep it in our yeah, you can keep it with your personal stuff. So, so there are really, and that also helps when you're feeling unregulated, having something else to focus on can help. And so this, when you can focus on your own pizza or put some more things on your own pizza, even when you're working on the group pizza together, that's another way to help them regulate. So that's what we did. Do you have any questions or comments or ahas around this?
How would you are there any considerations for doing this with caregivers who you're hoping will like kind of bring that to their children, or would you change or add anything for folks like that?
We don't really. The last Girl Scout troop, so we've done this with several Girl Scout troops. We've done it with community groups. We've done it at recovery centers. So we've done it for lots of different ages and lots of different populations. And the last Girl Scout group we went to, the leader was a little bit concerned because they had a very broad array of families. Some were extremely conservative and some were extremely liberal, but they had someone in their community experience sexual assault the summer before. And so they really wanted to talk about consent and talk about that you get to choose for your own self and how to advocate for yourself and things like that. So she really, really wanted it, but she was also really nervous because she didn't know how it would go over with the more conservative folks in the room. And we invited a lot of the moms stay. There were no dads that day, but there's usually a dad as well. But most of the moms stayed and we invited them to participate as well. They just have to be in their own groups, not with their kids, because otherwise the kids look to them. So the kids had to be on their own in approximate age level because it was all the way, I think, 3rd grade through 12th grade was in that class, plus adults. And it worked for everyone.
What about, sorry, I have another question.
Please go.
For Bill,
can you start over again, Jordan? It's really breaking up.
Sorry, how about now?
Yes, that's good.
For adults who have been exploited or who have suffered coercive control, who might have, like you were saying, a little more of maybe like I don't know how to, maybe a little bit more vulnerable.
Yes. So that's one of the reasons that we use this analogy. It was actually developed by a guy called Al Vernaccio. I got to meet him in December and I was a total fangirl. Probably should be embarrassed, but I'm not. Anyway, he's a sex educator in a middle school in Southeast Pennsylvania, but he also has a TED Talk called Sex Needs a New Metaphor, I think is what it's called. Look him up, watch the thing. It's awesome. So he came up with this metaphor and we think it hits really well. We think it hits as well as the tea metaphor, but it's also something that's more relatable because more people eat pizza than drink hot tea. So one of the things that you might have noticed is we like to use examples that are not fraught, examples that are not sexual, so that people have an easier time interacting with them and understand the concept without having to get over the word sex. And that's one of the reasons that we start with the pizza and then we talk about at this age, this is what consent is like. At this age, this is what consent is like. And then eventually, when you're sexually active, whether you're married or not married, then this would also involve consent. When we talk about it like that, when we talk about it as among friends, not that people don't have coercive, abusive friends, also sometimes, it makes people really sit back, and because they're anonymous, I have no way of reporting or knowing anything, but we've gotten things from a couple of kids when they turn in their evaluations that say things like, I never knew that I could tell my dad no. Or things that, because of the context and because of how they said it, make you wonder. And if kids can have that reaction, then I think adults can have that reaction too. And again, our job isn't to change their mind or change their outlook or change their perception right now. It's to drop seeds and nurture them with compassion and non-judgment, so that they feel worthy and accepted now, so that they can understand that they are worthy and accepted later. Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
I had a question.
Mhm.
Because you mentioned in the very beginning, because I've never like had it explained like this, because I skimmed through, but I didn't like read the full thing. So if you like don't, so say a child doesn't want to take part in like the group, I forgot how it was explained, but because you related it to self-satisfaction.
Ordering a group pizza, yeah.
Okay, so this is about ordering a group pizza. So they'll make a group pizza and an individual pizza?
Well, first they all make an individual pizza, however they want. So they can just get that right out of their system. And then how did it feel to be able to put whatever you wanted on there? Like, it was great. I love making pizza. Can we make pizza? They're all very excited about it, right? Whether they're little kids or whether they're grown-ups, they really like this idea.
Right.
And I wish it were practical to actually make pizza, but it's not. So then we talk about when you're ordering pizza with a group of friends, sometimes these things happen. How would you handle that? Right? So maybe you decide not to get pizza. Maybe two people get pizza and the other one gets a sandwich. And we say you need to order a crust, a topping, a crust, a sauce, cheese, and toppings. So we've given them a box, but they don't have to stay inside that box. And that's the thing. Like, do you want to be on top or on the bottom? Like, that's a box. That's not the only choices. So encouraging them to think creatively about all the different kinds of ways that you could compromise and have a conversation to find out what works for everybody involved. And then they report out, each group reports out what they got. And so sometimes people are like, well, we got this pizza with these things, but such and so is gluten intolerant and vegetarian. And so they decided just to get a salad today because they really love a Greek salad with feta cheese. So they talk a little bit about what their process was. And then somebody else is like, yeah, I was really interested in trying pesto because I've never had it before, but such and so has had it and they didn't like it. So I'll plan to try that next time. And I'm really going to try it next time because I really want to try pesto. So they get really invested in ways that we don't expect that they would, or we do now. So it's really fun.
I like this way a lot.
So, and do you feel the experiential learning, the what, now what, so what, now what, like that is in there. And it's also trauma informed because we're not talking about sex, and it allows people to step away from something that might be harmful. I mean, it's not impossible that somebody's had a traumatic experience ordering pizza, but it's a lot less likely.
I also love it. I think I am invested and I'm bought in. And I also keep thinking about folks I work with who have had to fawn, or kind of like what you were saying, like with kids and the power dynamic. And and or have had to negotiate in a way that isn't really authentic to them because of survival skills. And so, first of all, also, I'm curious if you have had to address that. And also, I think that, like you were saying earlier, I believe that it's something that once I'm doing it, it will be like you know how to do, because you said it's out of the context of like the abuse or coercive thing.
So one of the reasons that we do this is because a lot of people have never had a model of healthy relationship. And so we're basically giving them a model of what healthy relationship can look like. And so if they've never experienced it, then they're experiencing it in the classroom and they're like, wow, this feels really good. So we don't always have to remind them of the bad stuff. We can just show them the possibilities. Like, it feels really good when I get to have a say. It feels really good when the person that I'm ordering with cares about what I think and want as much as I do. And so it's just a modeling without having to say, you might have experienced this other kind of way of being, and doesn't that suck? You could just go, so how did it feel to have this conversation with people around you, and to care about what the other people thought, and to know that they were caring about what you thought and wanted. And it's powerful. Yeah.
I love that. Very excited.
So, and you all will get access to Consent is Like Pizza. I am currently reformatting it and putting in the new stuff. But you will get that. You'll get access to Middle School Stellar. You'll get access to something else, and I will send you the completed resource guide. And then also in the, I'm not putting it in the training because I think that the video does a better job than condensing it in training. And Rabia can tell me if she thinks that I'm right. We have access to 2 videos that are a full trauma-informed care workshop. It's completely asynchronous. You just do it on your own. I think a trauma-informed care workshop in person is really valuable. So if you have an opportunity to do that, I recommend that as well. But just getting familiar with the principles, I think is really valuable. And Rabia took this training over the semester while she was interning. What would you have to say about it, Rabia?
I was very surprised at so many parts. And there were parts where I was like very taken aback because it gave me a perspective that I did not, I've never thought of before. Like, I was a lot more small-minded, and there's a whole world out there of how to approach some situations than I thought were possible, So I found the training to be extremely valuable. Now, do I think it would be a lot more valuable in person? Of course. Like, I think that this is one of those things where if you can do it in person, do it in person, but you will still receive extremely effective knowledge through online. Yeah, exactly. So I enjoyed it quite a lot. It was very I learned quite a lot about myself and taking a step back for sure, though, I would say.
And we've also, so RISE does trauma-informed care workshops as well. And we do one for trauma-informed ministry for faith communities. We do one around trauma-informed, being trauma-informed for people of all genders. We did a program for the Veterans Administration Hospital in Johnson City. And the first one that we did for them was actually national. It was online, and they liked it so well they asked us to come do it again the next year. So it's really cool. We also do a program on teaching survivors about their own trauma response, because just like we judge people for their bad behavior that is often a trauma response, we also are really hard on ourselves when we have a bad behavior that's a trauma response, right? And we often ask what's wrong with people instead of what happened to them. And we do the same thing to ourselves. What's wrong with me? Why blah, blah, blah. Well, what's wrong with me is something happened to me and I haven't fully processed it yet. And it's coming up for me in these ways when certain situations happen and my body feels like it's in danger. So it's a really valuable way to kind of reframe how you relate to yourself, reframe how you relate to individuals around you, especially people that you might have wondered about before. And then also relating to community, because, you know, Hurricane Helene made community trauma, and it led to some really amazing behavior, and it also led to some really horrible behavior. And it's all related. And it's not an excuse to harm anyone, but it is a reason why some people behave in certain ways, including ourselves. So anyway, so you'll have, I'm sending that link out and invite you all to take that that asynchronous class as well. It's amazing. And it's run by Becky Haas, who got trauma-informed care into the Johnson City Police Department, and then eventually into the state of Tennessee as a well respected philosophy, which is really surprising considering where we live. And it's, you know, it takes a lot of work to keep us going in that direction. But there's now the Strong Brains Institute at ETSU that's all about trauma-informed care. There's the Building Better Workforces program through the Strong Brains Institute, which is a statewide program. That's trauma-informed care in business settings. So it can go anywhere. It's a very portable philosophy, and I love it. So, okay. So I think almost time for a break. I'm going to suggest that we stop here, and then we're going to do a really fast version of periods, pregnancy, STIs, and prevention, RISE style. But I'm not doing all the slides, but I am going to show some demonstrations because we got to hustle. So let's go ahead and get started. From about 3rd grade on, periods are part of stellar curricula. Why do you think that that is?
Because it's possible for them to have that experience during that time period. I mean, me personally, it happened and I was just like, what is that? Because it happened way like earlier than anyone expected.
Yeah.
I think I was about to go into 4th grade, if not in the 4th grade. So it can happen in those periods of time.
Yeah. No pun intended. Yeah. So anybody who could potentially get a period in the general scheme of things is old enough to know about periods, so that it doesn't scare them when they get it. They know what to expect. They know what's going on, and that sort of thing. And then by middle school, we also include pregnancy, STIs, and prevention in the curriculum. And so what I'm going to do is show you how we talk about those topics in the adult version. And the high school version is pretty similar as well. So we make a little bit of, for the adults, we make a little bit of assumptions about, you know, the fact that anybody who's got a uterus has had a period, and probably people who don't have a uterus don't know a whole lot about periods. So we're making two opposing assumptions, but not giving as much information as we might for the middle school or the 3rd through 5th grade. So we usually go through like language, anatomy, body image, gender, orientation, healthy relationships, consent, safe and ethical phone and computer use, and the fact that porn is not sex ed. And I'm going to take a real quick sidestep here. Why is porn not great sex ed?
It's not real.
What about it is not real?
I feel like there's a lot of things that's not real about it. And there's not, I wouldn't say not practical, but it's just unrealistic. It's unrealistic as in an acting sense.
Yeah. So usually body parts are exaggerated, or often body parts are exaggerated, right? There's not really modeling of consent in a lot of porn. There's not a whole lot of modeling of safer sex during porn. They don't stop and put on a condom. So like if you're a teen and your body is changing and you're like, oh, my penis doesn't look like that, or my boobs don't look like that, or my body doesn't work like that, That's not healthy. If you think that when you have sex, this is what it's going to be like, that's an unrealistic expectation. And so we talk about porn as adult entertainment that can be harmful if you use it as an expectation for any age. And we encourage guardians to be aware, and because we've gotten questions like, what do we do if what do I do if I see porn? Was like a question that we got from like a 4th through 6th grade person. Was that in the list that I sent you all? I think that's one that I took off. So what would you answer to them in a question box setting? What do I do if I see porn? And they're 4th through 6th grade, maybe 3rd through 5th grade. So that's like 8 to 11.
Are you saying what they're asking? What do they do if they're exposed to porn, or if they're
if they see porn? Like maybe they came across on the computer, maybe a friend showed them. They didn't give us specifics, but what do I do if I see porn is the question.
Mm-hmm. Find one option is to, if there are questions, or if you want to talk about it, the whole experience, like I would probably encourage you to talk about that experience with a trusted person who can listen and like hear about the whole experience, because some of them might be questions, but some of the things might also be like internalization that they can't make sense of yet.
Yeah. Do y'all have any other suggestions for what to tell a person? Like an 8 to 11-year-old person?
Well, my first question, I don't know if they'd be able to answer it, would be like, how did you come across this firstly, and how did that experience make you feel? Like when you first saw that on your screen, how did you feel? Were you confused? And then that, I think, would lead me into the conversation of, okay, we should talk to someone, a trusted adult, someone that you trust, and this isn't something that because I definitely don't want to develop a porn addiction, and it can start extremely early, a lot earlier than people think. And so just how did you come across it? How did that make you feel? And then just go from there.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important to let them know that any way that it made them feel is normal and fine, because we can't help the feelings that we have. We can only help what we do with them. And so if they found it arousing, that's fine and normal. If they found it to be gross, that's fine and normal. Like whatever reaction they had is fine and normal. And now what do we do about that? I think bringing up the fact that porn is made for grown-ups, and it's not for, like, have you ever seen and this, I've asked kids this before, have you ever seen anybody fart in porn? Probably not. Have you ever seen anybody belch in porn? Probably not. Both of those things happen all the time because you're pushing on bellies, right? In some way or another, and you're moving your body, and farts and belches happen, but you will not see it in mainstream porn. And then also when they get a little older, like middle school, high school, we let them know it is grown-up entertainment. And when you're a grown-up, if this is something that you're interested in finding out about, there are ethical porn companies where the people are there by choice. They are paid well. They do use prevention. They have benefits, like all of the things that a person in a workplace you hope would have. They have it. So if you choose
representation,
yes. And so if you choose to consume porn, there's a more ethical way to do it, which we'll do for like high school and adult age folks, because people don't even know that exists a lot. So we talk about, yes, how did it make you feel? What do I do about it? What do you want to do about it? Like, are you feeling like you really want to go look at it some more? And then why? What makes you want to look at it some more? And are there other things, like if it's the arousal and they like the way that it felt, there are other things that they can do that are not harmful, potentially harmful to themselves. And then also asking questions, because a lot of people talk about porn addiction, but they don't really know what it is. And if it is not, somebody asked, do I have a sex addiction? I really like to have sex. And I'm like, does it keep you from going to work? No. Does it keep you from going out with your friends? Oh, heck no. That's more important than sex. And does it keep you, do you have any hobbies? Yeah, I love to bowl. I'm like, does it keep you from bowling? No. Then is it interfering with your life in any way? And they're like, no, it's making my life awesome. I'm like, well, that does not sound like sex addiction to me. I'm not an expert, but those are some of the questions that you need to ask yourself. And they were like, oh, okay. And it's really powerful when you can just say things like that without judgment, because then it allows them to really look at their own behavior without judgment and just with curiosity. So that's way off the track. But anyway, so Rabia told me that she might have to leave for a family issue this evening. It's related to the one last night. So she was trying to be here and she might be back, but she might be gone for the evening. We don't know. Okay. Okay, so sexual health ed is about so much more than learning about intercourse and scaring people with gross images of STIs. It's about recognizing and respecting whole people and understanding ourselves, examining our values, looking at things from a strengths perspective instead of from a deficit or if this is a wrong perspective, deciding what's best for us as individuals, deciding how to be in relationship with others, and including in relationship that include sex, but not only relationships that include sex. So before we get to sex, it's important to do the anatomy and the orientation and the gender and the consent and the healthy relationships of all kinds, because those are all the building blocks that kids should be getting from the time they're born all the way until they're grown-ups. And we do it all repeatedly because most kids do not get that from the time that they're born until they're grown-ups. So when we talk about menstruation, we say menstruation is also called a period, and it's the uterus shedding the lining it creates every month or so to prepare for a pregnancy that might happen. There is some blood in menstrual flow. There's also mucus from the cervix, tissue from the walls of the uterus, and fluid from the vagina. And for the first time ever, y'all, and I'm going to probably add this to the facilitator guide at some point, I made fake period blood. In space. Check this out. So it's ketchup, water, and cocoa powder.
I was about to say, is that hot sauce?
Hot sauce. I think barbecue sauce would work. It needs to be a little bit viscous. And then the cocoa powder makes it a little bit darker. So, you know, because it often has oxidized somewhat, and also a little bit clumpy. So anyway, we're going to have fun with that in a minute. I just dribbled that on my keyboard. One moment, please. You get the menstrual blood off my keyboard. It doesn't absorb as well as water. I'll have to do a clean on that later. Okay, so menstrual blood aside. Why do you think it might be important to talk about menstruation in a mixed gender setting? And we do ask participants this.
So everyone can receive the same amount of understanding and information, because it is important for everyone to know, including male identifying individuals, so they don't just think, oh, like this person's just crazy during this time of like month, but they really don't understand the process of that. It gives a better understanding of other individuals in the room.
Yes. Yeah. So people who don't have periods need to know, because what gender are their partners going to be? What gender are their kids going to be? What gender are their parents? Will they ever need to go buy period products for somebody? Probably, even if they identify as male. And then, yeah, building compassion is really important. And that not enough of that has happened. So the kind of period each person has can be different, and a person's type of period can change over time. So before puberty, people with uteruses do not get periods at all. After puberty, some people with uteruses get predictable regular periods. Some people with uteruses get irregular periods or long, heavy periods. And some people with uteruses get no periods at all for some amount of time. And that can happen if they have a really low body mass index. So if they're super athletic and slim, mostly muscle, they might not have enough fat for their body to feel like it's safe for them to conceive. So it won't try to prepare for a pregnancy. If a person is pregnant, they generally will not have a period. If they recently gave birth for some period of time, they will not have a period, and that's different for different people. Some people with uteruses might get hormone treatments for gender affirmation or to treat a medical condition, and so they might not have periods. Some people who take hormonal contraception might not get a period for some period of time, and it's different from method to method. And then some people who have intersex conditions might have a uterus, but they might not have the hormones necessary to have it develop a lining and shed it. All of these can be normal, but a person knows their own body best. So if they're experiencing something that is not normal for their body, it might be a good idea for them to talk to their medical provider. And continuous bleeding and excessive pain, especially when it interferes with everyday activities, might be a person's normal. But if it is, they also probably could go see a medical professional. And if they feel like the provider is dismissive or disrespectful of their pain or their issues, it is always okay to change providers. There are lots of different ways that people with periods handle their flow, including tampons, pads, menstrual cups, and menstrual discs, and period underwear. All of these items cost money, which is an expense that people without periods do not have. And that's important to remember. So, did you know that period products are not covered by SNAP or WIC benefits?
Yes.
They're not food. Many states charge sales tax despite these items being necessary because they're called a luxury. For diapers too. Yeah. 1 in 5 students report skipping school at least once during their period, but a pilot study in New York City increased school attendance within 6 months of providing free tampons and pads. And in an attempt not to miss school or work, many menstruators try to stretch their supply by changing pads or tampons less often or using toilet paper, paper towels, socks, or rags when they don't have supplies. And it's not something that they should ever be shamed for. You got to do what you got to do. But this can lead to embarrassing situations like a sock falling out of your pants, a bloody sock falling out of your pants, and also potentially serious health conditions, because if you leave a tampon in too long, you're susceptible to toxic shock syndrome, which is a bacterial infection that can be deadly. So there are tampons with and without applicators. Today I am demonstrating, we'll get to, one moment, I didn't get a second one.
Cynthia, did you know that, and also Farron, Taiwan has menstrual leave days?
You said
No.
Taiwan does. Sydney, aren't you going to Taiwan?
Well, Jordan and I know the same person that I'm going to go visit.
Oh, okay.
That is cool.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, I don't know details, but I was presenting at a high school for a buddy who was a teacher there, and he was like, please tell them of America, because this is a rural school and they really glorify America. So I was like, this is high school America, and was just kind of giving them a lot of the stuff that kids deal with, like shooting drills and just like and one of them was like not I think it was like, this is our school nurse and these are the few things you can do. And And I forget what else, but it was something related to periods. Anyway, at one point, the teacher just interrupts me. He's like, and this is why you need to use your menstrual days, because some people don't have them. And if this is like, if you don't feel good, like you should use it so that the school knows that it's useful, and like you should feel proud of that. And I was like, okay, male
That's
teacher.
amazing.
That
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I'm ready
Gold.
for the applicator. I'm
Okay,
excited.
now I have 2 tampons. Okay, so I have with me a tablespoon. A period is generally 2 to 6 tablespoons over the entire course of the period. So we're going to say that this is a heavy period that lasts 6 days, and in a whole day, a person is going to lose 1 tablespoon of fluid. Okay, so I'm using water, and I'm getting a tablespoon of water, and I'm putting it in my nice wine glass. Okay, then this is the vulva, this is the vagina, and this is representing the cervix. So to put in a tampon with an applicator, you would put it pretty much like a syringe up to the labia, push it in, and then remove it. And a vagina is a little more snug than this rigid plastic thing. And then the string hangs out at the bottom, right? And then to remove it, you just pull the string gently until it comes out and then put it in the trash. So that's how we would demonstrate it. Now, this is a period that I'm just putting it in water. So there's about a tablespoon of water in there, right? Immediately. I don't know if you can see.
Whoa. That's so cool. I didn't even know.
So immediately, okay, so that's a tablespoon of water.
wow, that's why the athletes use them.
For yeah, yep.
Yeah. Even though I was an athlete, I never used one.
So
I was like,
now I'm making a mess. I got a roll of paper towels just in case. So now I'm gonna put a tablespoon of my handy dandy clotty period blood into this container. Okay. So it's like, sorry, you know, it's period blood like, right? And I'm going to put a tampon in it. And this is why, so I'm going to leave it here. I'll show it to you again in a little bit, and it'll be bigger. It will have expanded like the other one to a certain extent, but it'll take it a lot longer because it's not just water or it's not just blood. It's tissue and mucus as well. So it does not absorb as well, which is why it creates lubrication going in and coming out, right? And why, even though you use a tampon, you could still have leakage, because if your flow is faster than this tampon can absorb it, it will leak, even if it's not.
That makes sense. That's helpful.
yeah.
So, I thought this was so cool the first time that somebody ever showed me this. So you can see it's starting to expand, right? But nowhere near as fast as water. And it was a really long time after they started advertising tampons on TV. You know, they pour the little water on pads, whatever. They never used to test it with anything that had the consistency of period flow.
Huh.
They would test it just with liquid, but that's not what period flow is. So, okay, so I would show that. Then we'd show various kinds of pads. So this is a disposable pad in here. I like this kind because the plastic wrapper is also the cover for the adhesive. I'm not going to take it off because we're going to have fun with that also. I'm going to wrap that around. And then we also have reusable pads. So these pads have wings also, just like regular things, but you snap it around underwear and then it just sits here. All the sits there. and it captures the flow just like a regular pad. And then you rinse it out with cold water because cold water gets bled out, and then just wash it with soap and water, like in the washing machine, and Bob's your uncle. There is also period underwear. Period underwear lasts from 6 months to about 2 years, and it's pretty expensive. It's about $35 or $40 a pair. So it is not the most cost-effective means of catching period flow. But now we're going to do an experiment with pads. I'm going to move my facilitator guide off of the space.
Cindy, ETSU does have period underwear for people in need. If
Good. That's
yeah.
good to know. That's good to know. Okay. So clean off my tablespoon here. Okay. So we're going to put a tablespoon of water on this pad. Sucks it right up. Can't even see, right? It's a little wet, but there's nothing there, right? Tablespoon of my fake period blood.
Oh,
right? And this is why leakage happens.
mm.
Not immediately absorb.
And that's because it has tissue in it, correct?
It has mucus. So like blood has about the consistency of water, right? It can be absorbed very quickly. But there are other things. There's mucus, there's vaginal fluids that are a little bit more viscous, and then the tissue, the endometrial tissue from inside the uterus. And all together, it makes a much thicker soup that does not immediately absorb. And it will eventually, like it's a lot less flowy now than it was a minute ago. If you have a lot of flow, you're gonna be done with a pad pretty quick, and it's gonna leak out the sides. That's why the wings are great, and that's why we have to change pads more often than we think, even though they say, oh, it's only 2 to 6 tablespoons for a whole period, and that's great. But a tablespoon does not absorb immediately like water does. Right. So that blue liquid that they show in the commercials, that is not realistic. And we knew that, but we didn't always know why.
I have a question. You said you make that out of ketchup?
Ketchup, water, and a little bit of cocoa powder.
I'm using that to demonstrate to my nephews.
And so here's how our tampon is doing now. It's expanded all the way, but it still has not absorbed everything.
Wow. Wow.
Makes sense.
But this one absorbed all the way. It's done. It's took the whole, and it's not dripping at all. Oh, sorry, it's not dripping at all.
My mind is blown.
So I think it's important for people to know that because that way people will be less likely to tease. People also often feel like they need to hide their period products when they go to the bathroom. And when people who don't have periods know that this is a pain in the butt and it can be really embarrassing, they think, well, maybe I can be an ally. So like one kid who was in a 4th through 6th grade class, he and his sister were in the class, and the parents were in a guardian class that got the same content, which was very cool. And they would talk in the car on the way home about stuff. And then that week, the kid came home. I think he was a 4th grader and she was a 6th grader. He was a 4th grader, and one of his classmates had just started her period, and she was just so upset about it and so embarrassed about it and whatever. And she dropped her pad when she got up to go to the bathroom. It slipped out of her sleeve, and he picked it up for her and gave it to her. And she was like, oh, you didn't have to touch it. He's like, it's clean. You know, like he just affirmed her. And then he went home and told his folks, and they were like, that was such a, like, they were really able to affirm him and that kind of behavior. And so that's what we want to be able to help happen. So, okay, onward.
You talk about like the cups and the dip
Yes.
and the you're doing it.
Yeah. So here we have a menstrual cup. There are lots of different ways that people like to fold them. There's a C fold, and then there's like a triangle fold or a rose fold. And then there's this one that I don't know what the name of it is, but I think it's the easiest one to hold on to for my arthritic fingers. If a person is new to using a menstrual cup, sometimes it's hard to relax. And you can see it's a little bit bigger than a tampon. And so you have to relax. And then you can put a foot on the edge of the bathtub or on the toilet. You can sit on the toilet to do it. There are lots of different ways people position their bodies to be able to insert a menstrual cup. But something that also can help is to put some lube at the top, especially when you're beginning. And don't ever, for tampons, discs, or cups, don't ever practice when you don't have your period, because you need the lubrication of the period flow to be able to insert and remove it easily and painlessly. So you just fold it over and insert it into the vagina. And then when it gets up towards the top, you just give it a little wiggle and it pops open. And you can see it in there, right? So it just pops open. You do not pull. So there's a little stem here. Can you see it, Farron?
Oh, go towards the other side. There we go. Okay.
There's a little stem here. Okay, you don't pull on that to get it out to start, because the cup has made a seal around the vagina, so it will not leak. And it can be left in for 8 to 12 hours. So this is actually a really great option for unhomed folks, because they can leave it in when they don't have access to a toilet. And then to take it out, you just push your finger up far enough that you can push against the wall of the cup and break that seal. So can you see I'm pushing? The best place to do this, the easiest place to do this, is in a shower, because you can take it out. Doesn't matter how big of a mess you make. Doesn't matter if you keep it upright. You can also do it in the toilet. Just try not to drop it in, and rinse it out. And then you can reinsert. Then once at the end of your period, before you put it away until your next period, you'll want to boil it for 5 minutes, and that'll sterilize it. And then they usually come with either a little cup or a little bag to store them in. And so that's the other thing. You can have this tiny little thing if you're unhomed or insecurely homed, and it only takes up this much space, and it's very light. You just have to have some place to sterilize it. And that's the rub. And then there are both reusable and disposable menstrual discs. Can you see them both, Farron?
I'm sorry, I'm just blind. That's why I squint.
That's okay. So the reusable one has a more rigid lip, and then this is just like plastic. It's fairly, can you hear it? Right. And just like anything else that you're putting into the vagina, right? You just squeeze it together and insert it. And this is much bigger than the cervix of this demonstrator is, but it just slips up and goes over the cervix, but it's about that big. And then the menstrual flow catches in the cup. To take it out, you just put your finger in and catch the lip of it and pull it out. And again, the easiest way to do this is in the shower. Now, there is a new kind that I just saw the other day of reusable. The reusable works the same way, but it's all silicone. But there's a new cup that has a little indentation that has a little sticking out bit that you can hook your finger in. So you don't have to get your finger all the way over the edge. You can just catch your finger in that little hook and pull down, which seems like, why did it take them so long? Fun fact, the first patent for a menstrual cup, what decade do you think it was in?
What decade for what?
was the first patent awarded for a menstrual cup?
Patent award? Oh,
Pardon?
You
Yeah.
said an award?
When was the first patent granted for a
Granted.
menstrual cup?
Oh.
What decade do you think? We
Was
just
it
had trivia on Tuesday.
Maybe the 90s.
Like 1990.
Mm,
Do you
I
think?
was. I would say this has to be recent. Maybe like 2010.
It was actually 1901. So the
Oh,
1900s. Why did it take so long to get so?
That's wild.
what?
Yes. The first patent for a menstrual cup was 1901 in the United States.
There's now if you guys are ever in Nashville, there's now a period store called Period Nirvana, and they have a display case with all of the oldest period products and like the original packaging.
Oh,
That's
I
too
don't know
cool.
if the store is open, so it might not be there when I'm like, how it's like a boutique. It's so cool, but it's just like,
maybe we need to go
I
on a
really-
field trip, Karen.
yeah, you should come to Nashville.
Take Shayna and Robbie, we can all come meet Jordan.
I'm in.
Yeah,
Hey.
do it. Come on over.
All right. So demonstrations. So when we're doing the demonstrations, I did it quickly because whatever, but we also talk about sustainability. So like menstrual cups last 5 to 8 years. And now you can get them for like $15. They used to be about 40. So that means that even if, and they come in like different stiffnesses of silicone. Some of them are softer, some of them are stiffer. Some of them have a longer stem and some of them have a shorter stem because different people's vaginas are different lengths. And I don't know if you can see on this. Can you see those lines? You can cut it so that it fits the length of your vagina. And so most of them have something like that. There are also different sizes. And can you see the holes right there? Right? When at the end of your period and even during your period, it's good to like use a toothpick and just make sure that it's cleaned out because that is necessary for the suction. I don't know what the physics are, but tissue and blood can get caught in there. So yeah, so they come in different sizes also. There's at least a small and a large, and I think some brands have 3 sizes. The smallest size is for anybody who has not had children and is under 30. That said, all vaginas are different. And the larger size is for people who have had a kid or, have had a vaginal birth, or people who are over 30 because our bodies change over time. So the vagina is not as tight at 30 as it was at 15. So there are different sizes, there are different thicknesses, and there are different kinds and lengths of stems. So if you don't like the first one you get, it's now sort of affordable to try a second one. It's still a little pricey for $15, but that's like less than 2 fancy coffees. So they, like I said, they used to be 30 or $40 a piece, and it was really hard to go, oh, I might not like this one and have to try it. It's not like you can return them. So the menstrual discs are much more it's one size fits all because it's just covering the cervix, and so the cervix would be here and then the flow is just going into the cup, so it doesn't have to be as fitted to the vagina. And then you can get reusable pads. Glad Rags is one of the brands. I think this is a Glad Rags sample that we got. They're not cheap, and they last about the same length of time as period underwear because period flow is a little, I don't know if it's acidic or basic, but it's a little corrosive to the skin. So it's also corrosive to the fabric. So because it captures period flow, it will harm the fabric over time. And the same with period underwear. So if you want a nice, sustainable choice that doesn't create a lot of waste in the landfill, is not super expensive, and can be used for up to 8 years. It doesn't take up a lot of room. These ones are awesome. I wish I had known about them when I still had a period. Okay, so we talk about that also. And then demonstrators are expensive. This is like $60 or $70. I don't know why. It's silicone and like hard, cheap plastic, but it's really expensive. So there are different ways that you can demonstrate. So like if you're demonstrating a tampon, this can be your vulva, right? And then you show that it goes into the vulva and that you then push the tampon out and then whatever. So there are different ways that you can demonstrate. We've done, we did condom races at a trivia game ages ago, and we used Gatorade bottles because they have a wide mouth for inserting the internal condom. They had one person was blindfolded and one person was not. And the person who was not blindfolded had to tell the blindfolded person what to do. And so they're like, okay, I need to check the expiration date. And they give them the thing. And do you all know where the expiration date is on an internal condom? It's not easy to find. It is here in the fold on the side of the package. It's like, I looked under here. I'm like, no, it's not there. I'm like, no, yeah, no, it's in the fold. So we do show that where to find the expiration date on an internal condom because it's important.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we also talk about the pros and cons of different products. So sometimes people who have like certain conditions like, oh my gosh, what's the one? Oh my gosh, I lost the word. Where you have endometriosis. Is that the one where there's endometrial tissue in the abdominal cavity as well? Yeah. So sometimes there is endometrial tissue in the vagina, and it swells and it sheds, and that can make it uncomfortable to wear a tampon. And there are other people who just don't feel comfortable, and then there are people who don't even notice that it's there. So it's totally personal choice which menstrual product works best for you, and it might change over time. Pregnancy is, so ovulation is when an egg is released from an ovary. And we do this with a big anatomical thing. So we're like, egg is released from an ovary, and it floats on over to the fallopian tube. And then it starts to work down because there are little fingers in it that pull it down the fallopian tube. And then if that egg comes in contact with a sperm, and which usually happens in the uterine tube, then they could fuse together in a process called fertilization. Over the next 5 to 7 days, the cells multiply and become an embryo that continues to move down the uterine tube and may or may not attach to the lining of the uterus. So we then point to the uterus, right? And that process is called implantation. What happens if implantation does not happen?
If the egg doesn't implant.
The embryo, if something does not implant in the uterine wall this month, what happens?
A period.
Period, yes. When the lining of the uterus sheds and the person has a period. And so the tissue comes through from the uterus through the vagina and out of the body. There are lots of things a period could experience after becoming pregnant. A pregnancy could end before a fetus can survive on its own. And that could happen through miscarriage, which is the body just ejecting a fetus, usually because it is just not going to be viable. It can also happen through abortion, which can be a procedure that is done with medication or a procedure that is done with tools. The medication abortion is a combination of prescription pills that ends a pregnancy, and a procedural abortion is where a provider uses a combination of drugs and surgical tools to end a pregnancy. Abortion is not easily accessible or legal in all states. So it's important to know what your state laws are. Another possible outcome of pregnancy is a cesarean birth. And that's where providers perform surgery to remove a fetus near term. Sometimes this is to remove a fetus that is no longer viable but could become toxic to the person who's pregnant. And sometimes it is to remove a fetus because of a medical complication or because they just planned that they would have a cesarean section at this time. And then another option, another thing that can happen is vaginal birth. And that's when a pregnant person's body pushes the uterus out of pushes the fetus out of the uterus through the vagina and out of the body. And there is also the possibility that death could happen to the pregnant person. The United States has one of the highest maternal mortality rates of any developed country, especially for people of color. So pregnancy is not just a walk in the park. It's hard work while you're pregnant, and it can be dangerous. So it's really important to consider. Why do you think more people of color than white folks die due to complications with pregnancy and birth?
Assumed pain tolerance is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there are a lot of medical myths and biases. Yeah. What were you going to say, Jordan?
Often providers, I would say with all pregnant people, but then with pregnant people of color, it is even more so. There's almost like an infantilization or this view of the pregnant person as not autonomous, because the doctors are like the medical professionals, and so then it's just when it's a person of color, it's even more there's even more bias than that.
Yeah. So, and there's just basic discrimination, regardless of whether it has to do with anything medical. There is still a lot of discrimination, and that just makes people not listen well. Are people always able to make decisions about their own reproductive journeys?
No.
No. Why not?
Well, there could be it can start as early as a partner maybe sabotaging the birth control or assaulting or doing something non-consensual that causes conception, all the way to conception, not being able to make a choice about whether they want to carry the pregnancy or not, or just medically having medical complications, not being able to have control over that. And then in those medical complications, I hear a lot of people who aren't given agency because the medical professionals are kind of saying you have to do it this way or else it will be dangerous.
Yeah. So it could be I want to have kids and I'm not capable. My body just said, no, you're not going to do that. It can be whether people have access to healthcare, and that can be access to prevention, access to abortion, access to prenatal care. It can have to do with age, economics, intellectual differences. Folks who have intellectual disabilities are often asexualized or hypersexualized, just like people of color. And so frequently, people with intellectual disabilities are not allowed by their guardians to have sex or reproduce. And so they do not have agency in that way, even if they could have children and care for them just fine. So people who can get pregnant have options to reduce the likelihood of conception, but the following methods do not prevent STIs, which we will talk about in a moment. So there is emergency contraception. This is not birth control. It is way more expensive than birth control, and it's harder on your body than birth control. But it's a pill that people with uteruses can take up to 5 days after unprotected penis-vagina sex to avoid pregnancy. If the pregnancy has already happened, it will not stop it. It is most effective when taken as soon as possible because of that. It postpones ovulation and it can reduce the likelihood of fertilization if a person already ovulated. If you're already pregnant, like I said, it does not do anything. It is available in stores without a prescription to anyone of any age in an aisle or at the pharmacy counter, just regular Plan B. There's a higher dosage that is available to people 17 and older without a prescription at the pharmacy counter. And then there's another one, Ella, is only available by prescription. Some EC, it's important to note, are not as effective for people who maybe have a high body mass index. And so if you don't know if it's going to be effective, it's a great idea to either reach out to your health department and ask them the question, or reach out to your healthcare provider if you're comfortable doing that. There are also long-acting reversible contraceptives. They include IUDs, which look like this. This is 2 IUDs hanging out together. One of them is a copper IUD. So it's not actually copper, it's plastic with copper wire wrapped around it. And then this one does not have hormones in it, but it is a hormonal IUD. And so this green plastic would be hormone impregnated plastic. And then it sits in the uterus like that. So it's nice to have these to pass around because they can feel what the string feels like. It's just like really thin fishing line. And they can see what you can't do this with a regular uterus. They can see how they can see how it sets in there, and how big it is in relationship to the uterus. This is a life-size uterus. It also includes Depo-Provera shots and arm implants. So IUDs work for 5 to 10 years, depending on which kind you get. Depo-Provera shots, you have to get them every 90 days, and you need to be regular in order for them to be the most effective. And arm implants last about 3 to 5 years. They are highly effective, and in this area, people can access them for free if they go through a step ahead. And then youth who are 13 and older cannot access them for free through a step ahead. They require guardian consent or guardian permission, but they can access them through the local health department without guardian consent and without insurance for free. Other users, other things that people might use hormonal pregnancy prevention for are reducing period flow or duration, making periods more regular, reducing period pain. If people have really bad acne during periods, sometimes taking a hormonal birth control can help with that. Oh, okay. And reducing mood swings. The birth control pill is a little more finicky because you have to take it every day, and preferably at the same time each day. There are different types that have different levels of different hormones. So you can work with your provider to find the best match for your needs. You have to take 1 pill every day. There's usually a rest week, or what they call a maintenance week. It's just sugar pills. And that was originally created so that people wouldn't know if another person was on birth control. But there is no issue as long as your provider will do it for you. Some people take them back to back to back to back and skip the maintenance week and just don't have a period. That is not medical advice. I cannot give you medical advice, but it is a thing that can happen, and you can talk to your provider to see if it's something that they would recommend or not. And then there are more permanent options like tubal ligation, which is basically severing the uterine tubes or the fallopian tubes. And they used to do that surgically, and I believe now they do it just with a little zoop of a laser. There can also be vasectomy, which is cutting the vas deferens, which is what the sperm go through to get out of the body, and you cut those same way. And so then the sperm cannot go. Some tubal ligations and some vasectomies can be reversed, but it's not a sure thing. And then another more permanent option is hysterectomy. It's not often done just for contraception, but it is often done if a person has an underlying condition like PCOS or a really bad case of endometriosis where they're getting a lot of pain every month from their period. They may have to have their uterus removed. Okay, you good? Maybe.
Audio keeps cutting out. I had a question. Where did you get the source for the maintenance week information, or can I just Google maintenance week? The truth.
I would look it up. Yeah, there are lots of different places you can find it. I actually did that and had multiple OBGYNs talk to me about it. They're like, people don't have their period when they're really high level athlete and have very low body fat. They don't have their period while they're pregnant. They don't have their period after they're pregnant. Like there's all these, often people don't get their period when they're really super stressed. There are lots, and then people don't have periods for years after they have menopause. So there's no need, your body doesn't need to have a period. It's not like it's like backing up with period flow or something. So
that's cool. Thank you. I have folks who are interested in that or who are doing it and are like worried. So
yeah. And I would say just find an OBGYN to come in and talk about it.
Yes. Cool.
Yeah. So would it be safe to assume that a person using birth control is sexually active? Oh, yeah. Why?
They could be taken for a number of reasons, like for PCOS or for endometriosis. Just there's a number of things it can be used for, or
right.
If they don't want to have a period, simply.
Right. And so we talk about that. We bring that up and ask that question during class because it helps people who are guardians be more likely to allow their kids to use a hormonal method of birth control if it helps a medical condition. A lot of guardians are really reluctant because they don't want to be judged and they don't want their kid to be judged, which is an unfortunate reality. Okay. I'm going to go through STIs, and then when we come back, we'll do demonstrations and close up. So STIs are sexually transmitted infections, and they can be spread through sexual fluids. What are sexual fluids? What are some sexual fluids?
You unmuted first. I was going to let you take it.
Okay, I appreciate that. I saw you going for it, so I was like, I'm gonna.
I was, but then I was like, I need to share the air. I do. Lean out. I'm gonna lean out.
Tissue. Are we just naming one, or should I name a few?
Sexual fluids. What are sexual fluids that could carry STIs?
Oh, sexual. Sorry, I was thinking menstrual.
Yeah, no, sexual fluids. What are sexual fluids? Semen. Okay, Farron, your turn.
There's vaginal fluid.
Vaginal fluids. Yes, those are the two biggies. Also blood and skin-to-skin contact. And skin-to-skin contact is any skin. So it can be mouth skin, it can be hand skin, it can be butt skin, it can be all different kinds of skin. It can be boob skin. If there are little breaks in the skin, there are ways for pathogens to get inside. So barrier methods of contraception can help prevent the spread of STIs. Are any of the birth control methods that we talked about just a minute ago, are any of those barrier methods that stop skin or blood or fluids from touching somebody else's blood or skin or fluids? No. So in order to prevent STIs, you have to use something different. You can use both, but you should only use one barrier method, and then you can also use a long-acting reversible contraceptive. So if we catch them, STIs do not become full-fledged disease, and that's why we call them STIs now instead of STDs. Before we move on to barrier methods, which reduce the risk of both pregnancy and STIs, let's talk about STIs some more because they're really fascinating. STIs are really common. A study in 2018 found that 1 in 5 people, so out of 100 people, 20 people at any given time have an STI who are adults in the United States. More than half of the people in the United States will have at least one STI in their lifetime. So STIs are common, which means there's nothing to be ashamed of because lots of people have them. And STIs are very common. So you need to work to prevent them. You can't just hope that they don't happen. So fear and shame are a reality, and we have to set them aside both for our health and for our partner's health. And that matters if we have a lifetime partner or if we're just having a partner for one encounter. We still have to pay attention to that risk. Many people who have STIs do not have any symptoms. But STIs can spread even when there are no symptoms. If there are symptoms, they might appear within 2 to 3 weeks, or much sooner, or much later. Like, it's not predictable. And despite their names, sexually transmitted infections sometimes are passed in other ways, including non-sexual skin-to-skin contact, pregnancy and childbirth, chest feeding or sharing needles, tattoo tools, or shaving razors. There are three main kinds of STIs. One is bacterial, and so antibiotics, because they kill bacteria, are used for those. Some are viral. Those cannot be cured, but if you catch them early, they can be treated. And so those are things like HPV. There's a vaccine for that, so that's a great first line of defense. There's also hepatitis. There are vaccines for that as well. Again, a good first line of defense. And then the HIV virus, which can lead to AIDS if it's not treated. And then there are parasitic infections, and there are different medications. Some of them use antibiotics, some of them need an antiparasitic, some of them, there are physical treatments or ointments. So don't guess. It's good to go see a provider and ask for their help. Testing is really simple for STIs. There are urine tests where you just pee into a cup. There are blood tests, which are just like any other kind of blood test that you get when you go to the doctor, where they put on the squeezy thing that does not feel good. They take some blood, and then you're done, and they test you and tell you the results. There are swab tests, which is basically taking a long medical Q-tip and swabbing any place that looks like it has an open infection or an open sore. There's visual examination. So people who are over 21 usually have something called a pap smear. That is a test for cervical cancer, but it also allows for internal examination of the vagina and the cervix. And then a biopsy. This is a kind of testing that's used for the human papillomavirus, the HPV virus. There are tons of different varieties. It's kind of like breeds of dogs. Like HPV is the dog, and then the strain is like Collie or Schnauzer, right? And some of them are like just regular warts, or, you know, that you get on your foot. And some of them can cause cervical cancer. Some of them might eventually cause throat cancer. And so the vaccine addresses or helps prevent most of the really harmful strains of HPV. So who needs to prevent STIs?
Oh, not much.
Yes.
Everybody.
Anybody who's sexually active in any way. And sexually active does not mean just penis vagina sex. It means oral sex. It means anal sex. It means mutual masturbation, where you're masturbating each other. It can be lots of different kinds of things. It can be a hand job. It can be a blow job, all the things. Whose responsibility is it to prevent STIs? Everybody's responsibility, yes. And who should a person share with if they find out that they have an STI?
Anyone that they would assume to be sexually active with.
Since they last tested clean, right? Yeah. So STI prevention and testing are everyone's responsibility. Prevention and testing show respect and care for a partner, whether they're a one-time partner or a lifetime partner. And anybody who is sexually active should get tested at least annually, and talk to your healthcare provider. They might suggest more than annually, depending on your risk factors. Okay, so we talked about the fact that STIs can be spread through sexual fluids, which are semen and vaginal fluids primarily, blood, and skin-to-skin contact. And that can include menstrual flow. We also know that pregnancy can occur when semen enters a vagina. Barrier methods can help partners prevent both STI transmission and pregnancy. And at this point, we would just ask them, what barrier methods are you familiar with? And mostly it's regular old condoms. Sometimes they've heard of an oral dam. Sometimes they've heard of an internal condom. But for some people, they have no idea that there's anything other than just condoms. Let's start with oral dams. This is an oral dam. It's just a rectangular piece of latex. And fun fact, it is actually used for dental surgeries. You lay back, your mouth is propped open with a springy thing, and they lay it over your mouth and cut a little hole in it so that stuff doesn't fall into your open mouth. And so stuff doesn't fly out of your mouth and hit you in the face. And some enterprising person some time ago was like, hey, that would be great protection and nicer than a lubed condom, which you can make into an oral dam. You can make an unlubed condom into an oral dam, which is nicer, but you just cut off the two ends and it becomes flat, and you can use it as an oral dam. We like to call it an oral dam rather than a dental dam so that we remember that it's for oral sex. It's for oral sex on a vulva or on an anus. So it's very light. It's almost like it's not there. It's a little bit cooler than the air until it touches you. So it has a little bit of sensation. A nice thing to do is to put a little bit of lube. So if you were doing, say, oral sex on a vulva, you would put some lube on the lips of the vulva and then lay the oral dam over it. And the lube, this oral dam actually has a little bit of lube on it, so because it was on my fingers. And so it keeps it from moving somewhat. And it also provides better sensation. And then you do your thing. And then when you're done, do you ever reuse an oral dam? You flip it over and use the other side? No, right? Once and done. So you use it, discard it. Okay? So when you are opening any barrier method of contraception, what is the very first thing that you do?
Check the date.
Check the date. And what else about the package?
That it's not damaged.
Make sure the package is not damaged. Yes, that is the right answer for all of the kinds. So then you'll also open the package carefully to make sure that you don't damage it by opening. So no like ripping it open with your teeth. If you want to, you can apply lube to the area that you're going to be servicing. Unfold the dam, place it over the vulva or anus, hold it in place. There are like, I don't even think I can do it. There are people who are like, this is how you do it. You have to like do this thing and then do this, and somehow they get it all stretched really tight. And they're like, oh, it's better, feels better. And that might be true, but it's also more likely to break. So I recommend lube instead. Another barrier prevention is gloves. Nitrile or latex gloves. They're great for hand jobs, whatever. If you're doing anything where blood might be coming, it's good to have some protection. So they can help prevent STIs. You can use nitrile or latex gloves based on, whether your partner's sensitive to latex or not. Internal condoms. So we talked about where the expiration date is. This is an internal condom. and you just squeeze the internal ring. The internal ring actually can come right out. So you can put in the internal ring, leave the internal ring in rather, squeeze it and insert it into the vagina, and it will pop open and cover the cervix. Honest. Okay, and then the other thing that is important to do is make sure that it's not twisted, and the easiest way to do that is just to insert a finger. Because if it's twisted, then when somebody is either using a toy or a penis, it can pull the condom in, and then it is not providing enough protection. The only other thing to remember is to make sure that the person knows that they need to make sure they are going into the condom and not next to the condom. But you can see that it also provides some skin-to-skin protection on the vulva. And then when you're done, twist it, gently pull it out. And do you ever use this again? No, that goes away. Okay, what's the first thing you do when you're opening a condom?
Karen, do you have any idea? Looking very carefully at it to make sure it's not. Are we talking about like the physical opening of it?
Yeah, before you even take the package off, what do you do?
Do I need to look at the date before anything?
Look at the date.
Oh, I was muted. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I was muted because I was like, I said it 3 times. Okay, bet.
Yeah, because you were muted. It's teeny tiny. So generally, probably a good idea to check the date before you get busy, so that you know. And then again, you don't rip into it with your teeth. You carefully open it. It has a nice little easy open spot, which I appreciate. Theoretically, it's very serious, right? Okay, so now we've taken it out. Now what do we need to do?
Check if it's damaged.
Right? And it was in a pristine package, so I'm pretty sure it's all right. So then I just start to put it on. So before I start to put it on, this is our penis demonstrator. See, it doesn't look quite like, it's not like graphically a penis, but it's definitely a penis. You need to make sure that you're going to unroll it the right way. Because once you start to put it on, you cannot take it off again. So this way I happen to know is the right way. So I'm going to pinch the tip. Why do we pinch the tip?
I've never thought of that. To keep it from breaking? Or
Right.
to just hold it in place on the top?
Pardon?
Or to just hold it in the right spot?
No, it's because you need a little reservoir.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Oh.
semen comes squirting out so fast that if it's completely tight, it is likely to break, or more likely. So you pinch the top. Tons of people don't know this, so spread the word. Pinch it on top, roll it down the penis. Oh, did I do it wrong? No. Okay. Keep pinching because otherwise it will roll down, and roll all the way down to the base of the penis. Okay. And then there's a little reservoir at the top for the semen to get caught in. It's only a couple teaspoons. That's plenty. When a person is withdrawing, what do they need to do? They just like, look, ma, no hands.
Oh, yeah. Make sure the condom is staying on the penis.
Yeah, you have to hold the base of the condom on the penis as you pull out. Same is true if it's a toy. If somebody is using a toy, also hold the condom on the toy as it comes out. Then roll it down, take it off. You can put it in a knot or not in a knot. There's no reason to have to put it in a knot. It's not like it's going to jump out of the trash can and make somebody pregnant. But if it makes you happy to tie a knot, feel free. And toss it. And make sure it gets in the trash can because nobody wants to clean up other people's messes. So that is kind of how we show. We also tend to pass around. We can't do it in this classroom because we're not with each other, but we also pass around the products, and I tell them, don't worry, like the lube will just make your skin soft. Just rub it in. It's just like lotion.
Yeah.
But we'll pass the very first thing we do, and that's why we have oral dam first, because we want everybody to touch it before anybody has lube on their hands. Because it's a whole different experience. Hard to get rid of when you've got lube on your hands. We also pass around unwrapped period products. So we'll pass around a tampon without an applicator and a tampon with an applicator. We'll pass around a reusable pad and a disposable pad. We'll pass around the discs. We'll pass around the cups. We'll pass around the IUDs and any other LARC demonstrators that we have, just so that people can experience them and realize that like there's nothing wrong with a period pad that has never been used. Like it's clean until it's been used for a period. And speaking of which, this is what our tampon looks like now. Oops, where are we? Where's the thingy? And it's absorbed a lot more. But again, it does not absorb like water. So very cool. Smells like ketchup. Not loving it. I don't mind ketchup, but I'm not a big ketchup fan. It was the one smell that I couldn't stand when I was pregnant. Okay, so after this, do you all have any questions about how we presented or how I presented STIs, period products, and also like compare and contrast yesterday and today? What do you think are strengths? What do you think could be better? Because we're always trying to make it better. What are your thoughts? You're going to step in or to lean in now, Farron.
I unmuted first, so I get it.
Okay.
Sorry, Cindy. I don't know. You guys heard you say Farron's name, but I don't know what exactly you said. Maybe it was asking Farron to say it. But anyway, okay. So cool. Oh gosh. Well, even with oh yeah. So comparing and contrasting. I mean, I think that the one thing I really liked were that the stats were much more relevant and simplified to hit home with people.
What were you going to say, Farron?
I really like the visual representations, and also because I am solely a visual learner, and also there were some things I learned as well. So I really like that there is a visual representation, even if it's not necessarily like a straight out actual like representation of it, but you can kind of see how it would work. I guess I would need more practice with something that's not the actual thing of showing someone, demonstrating how does this work.
Right. And it does take practice, because it's also awkward. Like, even if you've used everything that's here, you've used it from a completely different angle than you're showing people. So like, even if you're 100% comfortable with everything, you're not comfortable doing it out here. Right. So yeah. What are your thoughts on visuals, like slides, as opposed to like handing things to people? And granted, like with slides, you could do it for a group of 80, but then you also can't answer questions effectively for a group of 80 as effectively. So how do you feel about a slideshow with a quiz as opposed to a conversation with some information and then questions and conversation sprinkled in? Like, what do you think is more accessible?
Maybe the questions, like the slideshow with maybe like a knowledge quiz or something like that. With like I don't know if you've ever heard of like the cloud that people use like to quiz people. Yeah, and so they can like anonymously put their answers in, and then you see like who mostly answered this and who mostly answered this way.
Right. So that would be a great way to be able to facilitate for a large group of folks. And I think if we were doing this in a large group setting, right, which this is very different. This is what we would do with like a class of 12 to 15 people, right? If we were doing this for a class of like 50 to 60 people, or even 3 classes of up to 80 people, I don't think that I would wait to ask questions until the very end. Like, we can do all this with pre-recorded videos that a person can talk with, like demonstrating the blood versus water thing, showing how to use these things. Like, that could all be recorded in advance and a person could talk through it. But then I feel like just waiting for all the questions that you want to ask them until the end is giving them a ton of information then and expecting them to be able to remember what you said at the beginning when you showed them a whole bunch of stuff that is totally new to them all the way through. So how do you think it would work if we did, because I'm trying to figure out, like, how would we do this analogous with the same situation? Do you think it would be good to have like video of stuff, images of stuff, maybe stop for a knowledge question at each section with like a speed round at the end or something where they can get all pumped? Like, what would feel really engaging, do you think, for a learner in a large class setting around topics that are like,
I like the idea of like, there's a lot more, social media is much more powerful. Everybody's attention span's shorter. And I know that there are some shorts out there, educational, like TikToks or whatever, of like this, of the demo, like they have the actual demo thing and they're like, this is what this is how the disc works or whatever. Or like, penis demonstration thing with what penis is. And I just think it could be really cool to demonstrate how to be looking this up on the internet, so that then people can see like, fine.
Yeah. And the issue, so there's the trusted resource thing, right? Like, most menstrual cup how-tos are on menstrual cup sites that are selling menstrual cups. And is that okay? Yes.
No, I mean, maybe, but
right. And they often have really good information. And it's where we send people, but it's not because we want to recommend one brand of menstrual cup over another brand of menstrual cup, because that's a very personal choice. And so that's where we run into those issues. But like, if we could do a simple whatever that was like, this is how the thing goes, and then have facilitation language over the top of it, then we could post those on our website. We could post those on our social media. People could grab them and use them.
Yeah.
And no particular brand. Like, you can't tell what brand of menstrual cup this is.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you like a menstrual cup aficionado and you know who has this kind of stem, but like, yeah.
I was also thinking like, because having videos that are made, but also just part of the, like being able to show, there's going to be videos of things trying to sell stuff to you. There's going to be weird information on Reddit. That's maybe true, but also maybe not. AI is going to, but then here are a few influencers, or here are a few whatever, like educational platforms, because there are a lot more out there now. And so these are the ones, and this is how I would search for it. And then maybe even showing like this is from a site, and this isn't really that, not a whole thing, but just like, this is accurate, or like, this is where you could compare and contrast. What do you think of these two videos? Which is more media literacy, but it could also be a fun activity.
Media literacy is part of that. Yeah. Rabia's husband sent her a video of a woman who does menstrual education, and she's awesome. She puts on a big pair of granny panties over her jeans and shows how to put on a pad. So she's like sitting on a chair, like she's sitting on the toilet with her jeans on, right, with panties up at her knees. And she's like, and here's how you open it. And then look, it has these wings. And so you take off the strip and you put it in your underwear in this spot. And then you take off the things and you flip them around to the outside. And then you get up, you know, you wipe and you get up and you pull up your pants and then it's there ready to go. And I was like, that's genius. And it's like super low tech and like, you know, it's very cool. And like our job as facilitators is to be a little bit ridiculous in the service of getting the information to folks. So that seems really cool. So yeah, I think there are lots of opportunities. And so yeah, if you come up with different ways to demonstrate, like I said, demonstrators are expensive. So, you know, you do what you got to do tastefully.
Are there any,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, are there any guides, like a handout guide of maybe of like an instructional of how that, a handout that we could give out to instruct them how to do it?
Like on how to do the demonstration or how to use a condom, how to use an oral
How to use like a condom or anything like that.
We have some that we modified from the CDC that I can share with you all.
Okay.
I will make it.
The first thing that I kind of thought of was, are you all CPR first aid certified?
No.
No. Okay. So the training that you go through, like it takes you, like it has like a snippet of like maybe a 15-second video, and then there is like an immediate like follow-up. That's kind of how like I thought of it, of like it's an instructional of like, okay, like an educational resource, a credible resource like Jordan was talking about, and we provide that, and then I'm like, okay, like which body parts were used, A through C. So A can be the vagina, C can be just a different body parts. It could be like what body parts were utilized. So yeah, it's just something I was thinking about. I connected it with the training because I was able to remember a whole lot more from using American Red Cross than another platform because they have the visuals and like a little like knowledge quest like right after
to help kind of stick it.
For each section. So I had pointed to you when you said by each section, because I think that helps more, because they're just like, wait, which one's the barrier? Wait, which one is like, wait, but the IUD is a wait, what? So yeah, so just breaking up into categories.
And that's what I think also, like having a demonstrator that you can pass around, I think also helps. And so like maybe for a class of 80, maybe you have 4 demonstrators and you just, you know, 4 rows of people and it just goes down the row and collects at the end. But something, because that also, like, people don't know that this is the size of a uterus, right? And they don't know how an IUD fits in a uterus. They're just like, you know, but now they can visualize it. And the implant thing, we've never had one. I would love to have one, but like the one that is skin, that where you can feel the implant underneath your skin, to really feel what it feels like and know that that's what it's going to feel like. Like that's, I feel like that's important to know, right? Like if that wigs you out, probably you don't want that. You want a different method. And they're, you know, it's all personal choice. So, so anyway, just because we do it doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. And you have to change your approach based on the size of your class. So like they did a slideshow because they're teaching to 60 students at a time. We could teach to 60 students at a time and use a lot of these principles, but in a way that can easily reach 60 people at a time instead of 12 people at a time. So the practices are good. It's just, you know, how do you translate them into other settings? Like how do you go from paper and pencil to stickers, you know, to make it more accessible? So I would like to take a few minutes to review our learning objectives and see if you all feel like we met them. And then ask for any other questions and kind of do a little wrap up. So the first learning objective was this, that at the end of this training, you should be able to describe the value of shifting perspectives about bodies and relationships from binary to complex. Do you feel like you understand the value of that? And do you think you could describe it to another person? What would you say? I'm going to let Farron go first.
From when you say binary. Could you elaborate for me?
Yeah, like man, woman, boy,
Okay.
girl, right, wrong.
Okay. Well,
Um,
it's based on each individual's experience. That's how I would say it. And so it doesn't matter if you are male presenting or female presenting or what you represent, but it matters to the whole, seeing a person as a whole person and valuing and respecting and showing compassion to their own experience.
Excellent. All right. Do you feel like you could, so this says facilitate internal and external conversations, by which I mean literally talking to yourself, recognizing your own things and working through them and working it out either with other facilitators or within the classroom. Do you think that you could now facilitate internal and external conversations that actively encourage curiosity about new ideas, both within yourself and in a classroom setting? Yeah. Do you think you could explain the importance of affirming whole people and modeling respect for others' values, boundaries, and decisions? And I'm going to call on Jordan for this. How would you explain that? The importance of that?
The importance of affirming whole people and
Modeling respect for others' values, boundaries, and decisions.
respect for their values. I think that making it interactive and participatory, to the extent that folks want, and is one way I would, that we can, as facilitators, can model. I'm so sorry. Respecting. I don't know why I'm having trouble.
Modeling respect for others' values, boundaries, and decisions. So the importance of affirming whole people and respecting those values, boundaries, and decisions.
Yeah, I think also using examples, kind of like what Farron was saying, using examples of different identities and types of people, folks who have different gender identities or sexualities or like intersex folks, or just being able to bring in those different examples and talk about them all in an affirming way, and then also making a special point to prioritize marginalized identities and affirming those.
Cool, thank you. So the next one is adapt to a constantly changing body of knowledge. And I said a constantly changing body of knowledge, but it's multiple constantly changing bodies of knowledge. Like we said for the question box question yesterday about specific strategies for inclusion of different neurotypes. So do you feel that you have enough knowledge to know what you need to keep looking for or keep looking at after this workshop? And if you don't, that's okay also. If you feel hesitancy or if you feel worry, let me know what that is too, because then we can talk about it.
What do you mean by looking for or looking at?
So like, so somebody asked a question about whether there would be explicit things that you need to include for instructing folks with different neurotypes, right? And we've talked about generally how to do universal design. We've talked generally how to make things more accessible.
Right.
And we've talked about like gender, and we've talked about orientation, and we've talked about contraception, and we've talked about, lots of different things. We've talked about intersex conditions. Do you feel like you could now, having the curriculum and having had this class, find information that you would need to make sure that you're up to date on the various topics and the various strategies for teaching them? Yeah, I don't always, because it's a lot. But I feel like these frameworks give me a good grounding in where to look to make sure that I'm doing the things. There are a couple of other resources that I will include in the resource packet. One is about trauma-informed sex ed specifically, that was done by Cardea, and then there's another one on the working paper that I talked about that the Sex Ed Collaborative put together. I'll put in a link for that because that's about racially just sex ed. So those are some things, some resources that can be helpful. Adjust other curricula to allow well-rounded explorations of whole people, especially when cultural norms and even legislation challenge scientific and psychological reality. You feel like you are better prepared for that after this class than before?
I feel like yes, because now I know what to look for of what is appropriate and what's not appropriate, especially yesterday. And I will be very honest, yesterday was very disturbing for me.
Mhm.
So yeah, so definitely just knowing that those things do exist, but we can gently correct those things or inform people better ways to kind of counteract that.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything, Jordan? No? Okay. Present content in a positive, affirming way to remove stigma and normalize talking about sensitive topics that should just be topics. You feel like you're more comfortable to do that now? Yeah. And do you think that you could name 5 facilitator best practices? And you're allowed to cheat. You have a resource packet. Well, you get a resource packet. You don't have to remember everything because you can look it up. I feel like part of it you all have gotten good enough at that you don't even think about it as like a separate thing anymore, which is good because internalizing it is helpful. One of them is one that I did not do at all, which is having more than one facilitator at a time. We talked about why that's important. Because if I had a pet emergency, we'd be up a creek. There's limiting self-disclosure, right? And that was important because we're not the center of the classroom, the learners are. Do you remember any other ones? And it doesn't even have to be something that's on the list. It can be something that just came up repeatedly that you're like, that seems like a good idea.
I remember mention of, being mindful about being alone in the classroom with learners, or alone outside of the classroom with learners. I don't know if that was the best practice, but
Yeah.
important.
And then one of you mentioned it today. I can't remember which one of you, but being able to use ungendered language whenever possible, just to make it more inclusive. I'm gonna cheat and look at my packet. Oh, I can't. It's not here. Oh well, I'm not gonna cheat.
I don't know where it must be in my other packet, and I'm not finding it. So
I don't know what I did with my packet. That's all right. Everything went haywire today when I started moving things around. And especially when I got blood on my table. I would, asking questions and making sure that you know what questions kids are asking back, because you don't want to answer the wrong question, and answering only the question that they ask. So some of it was best practices, and then there were other ones about questions that are also best practices. So there was like general and related to questions and related to this and that. So we've had them over the whole course. And one of them that both of you mentioned today was not teaching from a space of shame or fear, because those are not great teachers, but teaching from a space of affirmation and compassion. That's really important. People will listen so much better when they don't think that you're judging them. So do you all have any questions? Where's the sex of flowers? Oh, sorry. trauma-informed sex ed, and the RJET working paper. I'm making a list of things to add to the follow-up email and the resource packet. Do you have any other questions? Any other comments? I have so enjoyed spending this time with you all and being in this space with you all. And I'm a little bit sad that it's ending, but I know we'll see each other around.
Are you going to be offering more of these virtual free? I think, did you guys get funding for this or something? Or
No, we did not get funding for it yet. This was a trial to see how online sex ed facilitator training went. We've been reluctant to do it because it's really important. The conversations are really important because talking to the folks. Oh, there's another, this might be, there's another group that's offering a free facilitator training on the mornings of May 27th and 28th, Jordan. I don't know what you're doing or if you're available. It's 3 hours and it's Nashville time, so Central time. But they have talked about having some coaches and gym teachers in their training that were really problematic. And you can't really tell that if you're not doing the talking. So part of it was to see, will people do this kind of in-person conversational style for online learning, which is not typical? Or do they really want just the, I'll sit and be quiet and listen and whatever, because that does not work great for facilitator training. So we will have more. Probably not until the end of summer, at least, though.
very cool.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, I really like. I'm really glad that this. I was trying to get over there for a training, and it just was like weeknight and in person. I was like, I can't do that. So this was great. What is the one on the weekend that you mentioned?
Oh, it's not on a weekend. It's on like a Tuesday,
Monday,
Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
From like 9:30 to 12:30 our time, I think.
I think
got it.
that's the one that I got an email about, right?
Yes, the Centerstone one. So Centerstone is a mental health organization in Tennessee that has been doing TPP, teen pregnancy prevention, for like 20 years. And this year they decided they're going to get out of that because it's too controversial. And so some people that I know that I met at a conference last year, same conference where I met Al Vernaccio, they knew at that conference in December that as of September, they would no longer have jobs. And that the program that they had been working on for 3 years was just going to get killed. So they are looking for somebody to adopt that program, and hopefully it'll be the Healthy Teen Network. And then they're also doing another training, and I'm going to go because I haven't been to a facilitator training in a while, and I love to see how different organizations do it. Theirs is really grounded in Tennessee law as part of it, because the curriculum that they made, it does follow all of the requirements, but only as far as they absolutely have to. So I'm going to be going to that, but it might be interesting to see a different facilitator training, because I think ours is very different from a lot, because we ask you all to do a lot of program design work, like practicing that, because who knows what you're going to have to use as a source.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So anyway, if you're interested, I can send out, if you're interested, I will have to send them a thing that says Jordan DeZivo is interested. Could you please send her an invitation?
Awesome. I will check my calendar. It's one last time. 25th, 26th. No,
it's 27th, 28th.
I'm writing it down.
Okay.
I'll check. If you get an email from me, then that will be a yes. But otherwise, I might just. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to. I'm got work stuff going on.
Yeah. I understand.
It's the
But
27th and 28th from 9 to 12.
9 to 12. Thank you. Sam.
9:30 to 12:30. She
And
emailed
9:30 to 12:30, sorry. There
you're
was a
good.
first email.
You're good. Thank you.
Mhm.
That again. You said it today.
I want to thank you all so much for being here. I have so enjoyed this, and I hope that you have found it valuable. In the email follow-up, there will be, I won't have all the resources in it because some of them will be just in the packet, and so you'll get them eventually. But I will have the links to the trauma-informed care training that you can take whenever you want. And there will also be a link for an evaluation. And we do not keep track of the identifying information. We don't collect emails or anything on it. So please do be honest. Okay. All right.
I didn't see the I was trying to look through to find the best practices part, and for some reason I couldn't find it because it's in the table of contents, but where it's supposed to be. I don't know if I missed a sheet or what.
Well, Jordan said she didn't have it either. So that must be on me. And so that will be in the final version.
Okay. Sounds great.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Nice to meet you, Jordan.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.